in Arizona, it's dry. Hi.
All right, so this one?
So first of all, in Arizona, it's very dry, so I don't have to worry about the humidity.
Right. Okay.
Right. But the other thing I really liked, which it's going to go into some questions I have. Actually, that's not the first picture. It should be, because I want to show you what, no, go back. Yeah, okay, nope, go back. I mean, go to that, no, keep going.
This one?
No, it's the one with the woman, it's with the flowers around it, the square, yeah, okay. That's the state that it's in right now.
Okay.
So what I did with this is, what I liked about the Yes, instead of the PVC or whatever it's called,
PVA. Yep.
it's wet. So I can just keep applying things, and I can apply very light things. Let's see.
You mean lightweight papers?
Yeah, like tissue paper. I can, you know how you can tear apart a napkin and just get the one layer. So I could have just that. Whereas with the PVC, I think I just tear things if I was trying to. It's so thick.
So this is my new favorite paper. It's called Tamagotchi paper.
Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi, I'll send it to you. But I've been doing printmaking on it, but I just got photos printed on it, and it's incredible.
Oh, that's exactly, I was going to ask you about that, because that's the next step.
Okay, so wait, you're doing painting with fire, right?
Yeah. So I learned
this is Wayne. I learned this from Wayne Monteclavo.
Oh, because there's another woman who, what she did is she showed us
Claire O'Neill.
No, I can't remember the name, but she showed us how to do backgrounds, and then another one will be putting the photo on. But I thought I'm just going
to Deborah Claffey. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah. So this is on your painting with fire. It's Wayne Monteclavo. He actually prints on this these semi-transparent papers, and he just literally actually like debosses them into the wax. So he doesn't even really. He might put a layer of wax on them, but they'll basically stick to that top layer of wax.
Because it's so light.
Rubbing, right. So actually like kind of adhering through just rubbing, like the idea of like rubbing them together. I personally
I'll look at that. I haven't seen that one, so I'll check that.
Okay. So I think it's amazing.
What I did with these, you can see, I used like
well, you learned this technique from her video too, when she was collaging with the Yes paste. I mean, use the Yes paste, use gel medium or Yes paste. I mean, either you can experiment. Also, the PVA glue, you can also water down. So if it's
I could. Okay.
Yes, you can add water. I would say up to 10% or 15% water to the PVA glue. So you can use any of these adhesives. I think the most important thing I see, Pam, is that you're just finding a look that you like, and you're using material to make it happen. And that's just, I mean, that's perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of like 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Okay.
People could do it.
I don't want to get into trouble down the line where it's lifting.
No, I was getting in trouble because I was gluing very heavyweight, double weight fiber-based paper, which like I would never do that. I would just never use that type of paper. It's absolute waste of that paper. That's not what that paper is meant for.
Right.
Heavy papers are meant for exhibitions or hanging or 3D work. They're not meant for 2D work or gluing or collaging. They're just way too heavy. And the Yes paste just couldn't sustain over time the weight of the wax and the battle against the humidity. So I lost that battle.
Yeah. Well, I take your advice into, as I say, don't use, okay. Well, but anyway, so I thought, all right, I'll just go ahead because I've already started.
Yeah, absolutely.
The look.
Yeah,
great. The thing that I did on this that I love is using the chalk paint. So I watered down the chalk paint
for the background.
It just toned down even those, it just toned everything down.
Yeah, it's great.
So different from the high color, intense color of the last set. But anyway, so I made this as a background. It dried for 6 weeks, and then I got back and I used PVA glue to put this photo down, and I lightly hand colored it. I wanted to ask you, what was the paper that you printed on the, remember I sent you like, like 10 sheets or something to print.
The Hahnemuhle rice paper?
It wasn't rice paper because it's not heavy thick. It's like in between.
Oh, it's the photo, it's the lighter. So Photo Rag makes two paperweights. They make a 188 and a 308. So it might be the 188 lighter weight Photo Rag.
Okay, Photo Rag one. Okay, and that's Hahnemuhle. I just want to remember that because like if I think, oh, I want to do something that's of this style, I probably would ask you to do it with the rice paper Hahnemuhle, or now with the tissue if you're printing on that.
I'm not gonna print on the tissue paper, but Wayne will print for people.
Okay.
I am not going to risk I'm just not at that position to risk the print that I have. And I've never successfully done the carrier papers. Yeah. So I'm just, if I have a source for it, I'd rather just pay somebody else to do it. But I just ordered some prints from Wayne. I also am not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that I want photographs on those layers. I think I might be happy with just like stencil flowers or tracing stuff or more atmospheric stuff. I'm not sure that the literacy of the image on that lightweight paper is gonna work for me. I'm gonna try it, and I have to kind of experiment with what is gonna be comfortable. So like you learn it through technique, and then it's like, okay, I love the technique, I get it, I understand how to do it, but then it's like, how is it gonna work for me?
Right. Well, that's what I feel when I look at this, it's so literal. Yeah. It's not even a vague. So I'm going to be wanting to tone it down to match the background actually.
Right. Or you need to expand her skirt and go over the layers. Like, I would just, I was thinking. I mean, I kind of see the skirt line happening. It's like sort of happening here already.
I was thinking, I really want to do that with, well, you'll see, wait a second. Let me go back a little bit. Okay. With the photo paper, that 188, one thing I found with this one is that as I was hand coloring it, because I decided I didn't want it just black and white, it scratches really easily.
Really easy.
So I thought, oh, that's a problem. Because I think this
so it's basically a very soft paper, and just consider that the photographic image is like dust.
That's what it felt like. Like all of a sudden I realized
that's what I like about it. I like that about it. I love the fragility of it because I actually put sandpaper on it and I kind of rough it up.
Well, maybe that's
that surface. Yeah, it's like the image is dusted on there.
Yeah. Okay. So that wasn't.
So you're not crazy. No, you're absolutely intuitive. No, you're on it. You're totally getting. No, you get it.
And I mean, it's just even the light oil pencils are just like
scratching it. Right?
So that's what. So maybe I should just, do a little bit of sanding just to go ahead and just take advantage of that instead of fighting it.
Yeah, I embrace it. It's very fragile, and I don't like to spray it or add anything. So I kind of embrace the fragility and let it do its thing. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. This is so good to understand this. Yeah. So one part of me wants to do like, the dress, really extend her dress with lace. So I did some texture studies. And I still haven't found what I want, but which lace I want, but that is, that's what I was thinking. But the other thing I was thinking, so if you look at the other versions of this, I put down several different things.
Okay.
So this is one version. Oh, by the way, I put the photo down with PVA glue. So that's on top of the
chalk paint.
The chalk paint. But
that should be fine.
Yeah. So
that should be great.
So I thought, well, if I did PVA glue on that little urn, and then those two flowers are, the tissue thin napkin, and then I was just playing with different compositions. So let me see another
Well,
one.
right, but the urn is interesting because it could be like a solid thing in the foreground where the woman is going behind the urn. So the urn is like, you know, in the
Yeah.
foreground, and it could have a stand even, like it could
Well,
have a post here so that it was actually like standing up, or it has to be sitting on the ground, and you'd have to make some type of
well, but the other
Wow.
thing that I really like, and I didn't play with this, but is having a lace stencil extension of the dress, like you said. So,
All right,
you know,
let's see.
put
You
that
may go
somewhere.
back. Let me do it.
So that's it. This is the tissue, you know, the napkin thing. Because I like that because you can see through it, and I would put chalk paint on that. Then I have to wait forever for everything to dry, but okay.
Well, no, you can hit it with the heat gun.
Oh, duh.
You can just dry things. I can't wait for things to dry. I don't have that kind of, I just use the heat gun to dry any kind of paint, like gesso.
Okay.
That's how I got into like burning the gesso and all that too, because I was just like, I can't wait.
Well, that's what, you know, when I was, the backgrounds were so wet with the yes thing.
Just
that,
dry them with the heat gun.
okay.
Or hair dryer.
Yeah,
Or
I just
put
like
them
overnight.
outside. Put them outside for 5 minutes.
Yeah, here. Except now the monsoons are starting. You'll see
the rain starting.
probably, yeah, you'll probably see some storming. So that was one. Now I'm thinking if I put the skirt there, maybe the urn on this. So I'll play with the composition a bit more. So there were other
My favorite. I think this is my favorite one.
I like that. There was
yeah, because that solves the bottom of the urn part where you don't have to put the post there.
Oh, I see.
And I like the flower, just kind of like a wildflower growing like outside the urn.
And that continues that circle.
Right, and she could still have a little bit of skirt going behind here as if she's laying back behind the urn. Like, I mean, you could have rotated her. If she wasn't glued down, you could have rotated her a little bit to 3 o'clock, which would have put her a little bit more horizontal in the plane as if she's laying back. But I mean, it's no big deal. She's slightly like upright to be laying down, but it's just a perspective. It's like you're looking at her with your head tilted, you know. That's fine.
Yeah, I could have done it. So do the lace skirt as the first layer, and then the urn and the, okay, so it's, okay.
No, you don't have to, I don't think you'd have to do anything for the skirt. For this, you could just glue those pieces on there, and then you can paint her skirt going behind the urn with, you could use some lace wax texture, or you could use a piece of tissue, another piece of white tissue paper. Sometimes I use just white tissue paper in triangles, because for whatever reason, a triangle for me, I can put it at the waist and I can kind of wrinkle it. It just makes sense as a skirt.
Oh, I like that.
As a skirt panel. I don't think of skirt panels as being rectangular. I think of them as being triangular. And then I put the top of the triangle into the waistline, and I scrunch the bottom. So I either wrinkle it or scrunch it up so that it looks like it's flowing whichever direction I want it to flow. So in this case, maybe you even want so imagine like a little bit of the fabric was like draped over the urn because she just like collapsed behind the urn, right? So you might have a little bit of fabric over and a little bit behind.
Okay. And that if I did something very light like that, I wouldn't be like having a lace stencil, because then that's really textured, and then I'd have issues with putting the urn on top of that. So yeah, that makes sense.
Right, you don't want to create a bumpy surface to glue something down. That's probably going to cause you more trouble than it's worth.
Well, and it's the different style than what this is. Now here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. I have the so the chalk paints. I'm just thinking I would chalk paint around the edges of the photograph.
To blend out the gray. Just go over. So you can do two things. You can use the sandpaper, and the sandpaper might give you the equivalent like quality that the chalk paint does, and then sand it a little bit so you don't have that cut out line. Right. And then you can just blend a little chalk paint around it. I mean, I wouldn't go too heavy, and don't try to go up to her like a cutout. Just go just sweep over the line where the lines intersect. So it'd be like this area, you know, this area where the lines intersect, and then let the others just kind of be organically vanishing.
Okay, let me show you something. This is
Okay.
fun. In Portland, I really didn't do any shopping. Most of the time I was, doing other stuff, like walking on the beach. But
Aw.
I found a store that has the artistic chalk paint, but she
Yeah.
also had different sandpapers.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's made just for the chalk paint. And I thought,
Oh,
wow.
yeah. You know what? Lorraine Lesnar has a sandpaper she uses, and she actually sands the wax.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
Yeah,
I don't
you'd
know.
have to email Lorraine, and she would send you like a sample pack, but it's some crazy kind, because they sand like jewelry and gemstones and stuff like that. There's all kinds of sandpaper, but she basically, how like, with the stencils, sometimes you get like, oh, they're too bumpy or too rough or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I might use just like heat or the razor blade to scrape them back. She
Yeah.
actually sands them with sandpaper.
Hands it down.
Yeah. So
Okay,
it's another technique. I mean, it's just another way of creating, another solving. It's sort of like solving problems, it's
Well,
like,
that's it. And I came up against something like, the little scratches. I thought, oh, I've got to ask you about them. How do I?
yeah, you can, you can go to Lorraine's website, and she has a blog, or you could probably just send her a message on Facebook or Instagram and tell her that you work with me and you were curious about how she sands her wax, her encaustic stencils.
Okay.
Because I can show you.
What's her last name?
Oh, Glessner.
Glesson. Okay.
Glesner.
I'm sure you gave that to me before.
Yeah, and she's also in the Painting with Fire.
Cool. Okay.
She does like a lot of, usually she shows her embedding, where she takes like magazine cutouts and things and puts them in between the layers of wax, so they're closer to the surface.
Well, so then, because that's another thing, I'm really interested in this idea of having more depth, different layers.
Yeah, well, right. You want the image, right. Well, you want the content to be in different places, like either way far away or really up close. It just changes the volume and no, it's nice. And I agree. I want the same thing. I agree.
Well, I know you had mentioned that, and I'm thinking, well, how is she going to do that? So I'm learning. That's it. So then I want to show you the other ones where I used the yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So this is good. So I really
so this is our favorite. We decided. So when you glue this together, I definitely love too the way you're experimenting with putting the collages together and looking at them. But I definitely agree that compositionally it makes them, it's the prettiest, right? Don't you? That's the one.
I do like that. Okay.
Yeah, and it's nice that you're making like 3 options and looking at them, the whole thing, right?
Yeah, it really helps for me to take a picture and then I look at it the next day.
Well, right, because also we're photographers. We've been trained to critique our work in that style.
Yeah. So this is the 2 tree spirits. Again, I scratched her face and I don't know how to fix it, but I now have
scratched her face. I don't think I can see.
You can't see. You'd have to look closely. I tried, but
this one down here.
Yeah, it's like.
All right, so that's we can blend that. We can fix it.
Okay. Well, so this one I have wax now. It's whatever I do, it's going to have. It already has the wax on it. So I like the lines of it. I like what's underneath. Like I like the topo lines and the. I don't know what else. It doesn't feel complete yet, but
yeah, it's too much empty space. And I'm not sure, like, I guess psychologically, like, I'm just wondering, like, what is this shadow? What is this shadow image for? Like, what is that? Is it literally like their shadow? Because you could do that. You could just put like some connect them by darkness, and that could literally be sort of positive and negative space, or they're like in 2 different dimensions. Like, you remember how you split that one canvas and you kind of like made it like almost like a strong, I forget, it was like a strong diagonal line, and then you had like one part of it existing in light, and it was kind of like light and dark. Like the bottom would be a dark background and the top would be a light background, right? So that
Oh,
so that
yeah.
they were negative, kind of like yin and yang of each other in terms of.
And then each one is on the opposite. So the light is on the dark background. Well, it had to be.
Yeah, and the dark is on the light. And so they're like mirror existing in existing in multiple dimensions at the same time.
Cool.
Right. So there's a lot of, artwork about that, like above, and that's like very, the Persephone thing, above and below, or above, above water, below, like, and so your color palette would kind of decide what was what, you could do any colors, you could do any contrasty colors, any colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, or any black and white, just any polar
Any
color.
contrast. Okay.
Yeah,
All
and you're not exactly at like the middle of the panel too, which is kind of interesting. So it's more, it's not going to be two triangles. It's going to be more, of an irregular.
Yeah, exactly. I realized afterwards that it was off. Yeah, I should take advantage of that because it looks off right now.
No, I think you should leave it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
I can't do anything right now.
The other thing you could do is you could create any type of shapes. You could make it 2 circles, right? So you could take a stencil, so each of these could be within a circle. And so the circles are overlapping, intersecting circles, like 2 rings intersecting. So you draw.
It could be like a glaze with a.
You'd have to make a stencil. You'd have to make a circle stencil or buy a circle stencil, but you can just make a circle stencil by cutting a piece of paper in half and cutting it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then put whatever color or yeah.
Yeah, and then you could carve these back out. You could just totally put 2 circles.
Oh, wow.
I could really see the circle thing. I like it.
Yeah, I think that's more interesting than the other one for this.
And you could go black and white. You could go, yellow and gray. You could go, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, you're good with color. You pick your colors. 2 opposite colors.
I'll play with it. Yeah, those are great ideas because I didn't feel like it was finished, but it was finished up to this point.
No, I do sense there is a vibe in your work, like of some, like, it's like science fiction narrative. It's like Star Trek reality, but you have that vibe. And especially with all these like the one you did that looked like the cosmos, like that you were looking up into the stars,
Yeah. Well, I did play some more with that. And I have another story, but okay, I'll play with that. I do like the circle idea better. Okay.
So pick a paper, right? So if you're gonna make the circle stencil, like I don't make stencils out of fancy acetate, or I don't use crazy papers to make my stencils. I just use regular paper, and maybe that's good or bad, but I just am not like, I would just use a medium cardstock and I would just hand cut it. That's just me. But if you wanted to buy a perfect circle stencil, I'm sure you can find one like on Amazon. And just measure how wide the diameter.
A little like rough edges, or instead of having it perfect. So okay.
Yeah, I mean, those choices are entirely up to you. Some people don't feel comfortable with it. I like to hand make a lot of my stuff because I feel like it just is makes it my work more about me, more original. But if you want a perfect circle, I mean, it's still going to be imperfect because you're using encaustic, right? It's still going to be hard to get it to be perfect.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go on to the next one.
Okay.
Next one. All right. This was, it was originally a collage of Xeroxed flowers, and I really just wanted to work on getting better at flowers. And then I thought, oh, well, let's do the yes thing, make it more into a collage and do the chalk paint, which I'm really enjoying. So, I'm thinking, I don't really even want to put a figure in there. I just want to play with this as this way. So one thought I had is I still want to get better at the pan pastels because I'm just not good at them. And I was wondering, is this one that would lend itself to that?
Well, I don't think you can paint a flower with a pan pastel.
So
because you can't paint a flower with a pan pastel, and because it just isn't, It just doesn't hold that, it just doesn't hold that
Okay.
platform. It's too dusty. It's too loosey-goosey and translucent. I mean,
So this is not a good thing to learn how to do pan pastel. Okay.
no, I mean, and really, your thing you're using the pan pastels for is like atmosphere or slight color correction. Also for things like, just think of what you know about photography. Think about like shallow depth of field, like blown out backgrounds or landscapes that are completely out of focus. You know, those are the type of things that I think are good for pan pastels. I don't think of pan pastels as being good for anything that has any resemblance of existence or of mass or, you know, structure or anything.
One thing I've been doing, because it's hard for me to carry heavy stuff right now, so I've been taking just one little lens. Sometimes the lens may be doing intentional camera movement.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, yeah, so down, maybe what I should do is.
Do you know the work of Uta Barth?
No.
She photographs everything out of focus. Like really out of focus. Here, I can show you her work real quick. So, and I love looking at her work. I mean, if you wanted the flowers to be that style where they're basically like just very soft, like dream representation of flowers, you could do that.
Well, there are a couple people I've been following.
So here's like her work.
Oh yeah.
So I've never seen her work with this big red line in it, but like, this is what I know of her work.
Yeah.
Like this.
So I was taking pictures at the marinas, you know, on the coast and flowers.
Right. So like this one, you know what it is. It's like funny. It's like when you're, you know what it is. It's a wall and a sidewalk and a line of trees and a building and a road, but she's not really giving you, you know what I mean? She's not, she's not really providing you. And that's an interesting way of working though. I mean, here's the building and a something. I have no idea what this is. It could be a person, right? And a telephone pole. I mean, again, these are like really.
I'll send you one. Try and send you one or two of these guys that I'm following on Instagram, and I just say, oh my gosh, this is but that's a whole nother style.
So wait, let's go back to that though for a second. So with that in mind, if you wanted this to be like that dreamy, blurry kind of idea of a garden or like the memory of a garden, I think that this could work, you know, because you could make them so like out of focus, like they just wouldn't have any. It's like they just wouldn't have any mass. It's like they would be there, but they wouldn't be like, they'd be like, if you reached for them, you wouldn't be able to pick them up. They wouldn't be like real. Which is an interesting idea.
Do that by putting more wax on to get them out of focus, or
well, I mean the pan pastels are going to make them out of focus.
Okay, because this is already.
There's no line. What I'm trying to say, there's no line, and they're very hard to shade, the pan pastels. So there's no hard line, and you can't shade them very well. Like they don't go from light to dark like encaustics or pigment sticks. They just are kind of like, even if you add white to them it's very hard to try to get them to. And I think that people that use pastels, that's why they like them, is that they're painting in almost like auras of color and not like things, not like tangible realism. They're just kind of painting in like glowy layers of. So if you look at artists who use pan pastels or not oil pastels, they have to be the dry ones, not the oily ones, but they have to be the chalk pastels. But that has a certain look to it, and you could definitely do it with this piece.
But it would be covering any of the, like, let's say there's a flower with a dark center, that would be totally gone. It's opaque because it's opaque, right?
Well, it would just look like muddy. It would just look dark and muddy because the pan pastel will blur it. But unless you put a dark color, what I would do is I would paint what you see. So where you see dark, I would put dark pan pastels, and where you see light, I would put light pan pastels. So you're literally like, but it's it would be a good training exercise.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to use, you have to use like little makeup applicators, like
I've got okay.
it's almost like you'd be painting with, like eyeshadow pads.
Right, right.
Or get the ones with the little sticks so you can control them more, right? And then you're putting them, like you would paint, like if you wanted to paint this one dark red, you would put like reddy black in the center where it's dark, and then like a lighter red in the middle, and then darker red. But you're gonna have to like paint it's gonna be a little bit like paint by numbers, but it could be good practice.
Well, that's what I was doing with the other ones. I used some other Xerox flowers to use oil pigments to paint by, it was like paint by number, where it's dark.
Well, that's like how I learned how to paint. I mean, that's how photography taught me how to paint. I mean, so just painting photo, and now, as you improve, you just start to want like more complex
Yeah.
images.
Well,
You want more.
Here's another question.
Yeah.
And I suspect you'll say, yes, you can do it, but I'm feeling it's probably too difficult. Suppose I did some paint by numbers with oil pigments, let that dry, and then do like the more aura-y parts, make out of focus, maybe in the background, with pan pastel. I'm not sure I could pull that off though.
I mean, if anything, I would do a little bit, you could do a little bit of the flowers with like encaustics, or mix these flowers up with a couple stencils. The thing is like, if you want this to feel like you're just in the flowers all over the place, you want them just to exist in a bunch of different focal points. You didn't create like, okay, so think about in photographs, we usually line stuff up, right?
Right.
So we usually have like foreground, midground, background, and usually things recede back to blurriness.
Right.
So in this composition, you have this one here, or these two that are in focus in the center, which is fine. And then you have this one over here, which is medium focus. This one's sharp. This thing down here is sharp. And then this one at the top is sharp, right? This one under the green is not sharp because I can barely see it. But so maybe even rotate this canvas so it's so it's horizontal. And then if you find, the thing that I always loved about the view camera is that you could find a line of focus through. It's
like the edge of focus.
Right, you could, it didn't have to be logical, like foreground, like the way the world was. It could be like a chosen line of focus through a diagonal plane of an image, right? Because of the tilt and shift in the view camera. So maybe there's a diagonal of focal points here, like this way, from this corner to this corner, and then everything else is blurry.
I just started using the Lens Baby Edge, where it does. You can place your focus and how, the focus point you can as a line.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it could be an edge, and you can do it as wide or as narrow as you want, and you can shift it different ways. So
that's really cool. And then does it fix? Can you choose that and lock it and then point it at anything?
Yeah. Well, I would. Yeah, or let's say I see the flowers and I say, okay, this is where I want the line to be. So it just made me more aware of, but I still have to have it more as an edge. It isn't like some flowers can come forward and some are back. It has to be. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me see. I'll either do the pan pastel straight, or I'll look for. See if I can find that.
Also, I think that green, that color green, you've got to play around with it a little bit more in between the flowers too, right? And so, like if you're going to use that green, you're suggesting that these flowers are existing like in a garden. Or you could use like a lighter color, like a white or cream or something that's more suggestive of just like random space, that the flowers are on a piece of fabric, or something that takes them out of the context you know, like if
Mhm.
you look at Elizabeth Messina's work, she does a lot here.
Okay.
She does a lot of flowers on where she takes the flowers, she cuts the stems off,
Uh-huh.
she lays them on fabric, right?
Uh-huh.
So wait, let's just see if we can find the flowers. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, so even this is the milk bath. So
Oh, I love the milk bath. Yeah.
this would be a good thing for you to look at. The
Mm-hmm.
milk bath, right? I mean, this is
Right.
probably like the most beautiful thing in the world. I mean, seriously.
Well, this is a lot of your paintings have that feeling to them. Like the milk.
Oh, that's so nice. I
Oh, it's
mean,
true.
I just got to see her in New York actually. So
wow.
yeah, it was great. It was great to see her in person and be with her because we talk on the phone all the time. So,
Cool.
but it's lovely to, and here's another one. So this is like if you made the background this color,
Yeah. Yeah.
milky, and then
Mhm.
your flowers could be these color palettes, right? Like peach and
Mhm.
red, and then they can go, yeah, they could go back and forth. You know, you could put more wax on them if you wanted them to be slightly underwater and
Right. Yeah.
less wax if you wanted them to be. So you
Okay.
could make the plane as if you're looking at it as in it's ice or fabric or
Right.
water,
Yeah.
right? And not a garden. So get away from the green
Okay.
and use a mid-tone, use another color.
Okay. The creamy or the milky. Okay.
Yeah, so you can look at any of
Ooh,
these. They're called
ooh.
milk. These are
Yeah.
called milk baths. They're
I've always wanted to shoot the milk bath. I haven't done it yet, but I always thought that would be fun. Okay.
yeah, it's in summer's a good time to do it. You know, you can get like a plastic pool, you know, and do it outside.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Elizabeth has a tub. She has like a huge bathtub in her studio because she got so into this work.
Yeah.
And you know,
That's
that's what
great.
artists do is like when they get interested in something, they create a space to do it, you know?
Okay. Well, that's great. I don't know. I may just take this one that I have and just, you know, not do. To me, this would be a lot more complicated. But I'd have to actually set that up for this instead of trying to make that happen with this.
Well, I think all you need to do with this one is make some white or off-white encaustic wax. And you don't have to get rid of all of this green because some of it is nice, but like just go over some of this green with some brush strokes and then brush over some flowers with some wax medium and then get your pan pastels out and have some fun.
Okay. All right.
I think it's good. I wouldn't scrape it. I would just keep adding to it. Don't scrape back or just go over it.
Okay. All right. That's great. So, and it also is,
and that's the mood I think that you want to create. So you can look at those pictures just for like mood and color palette, you know?
yeah. Okay. I'm going to go back and look at her work is beautiful, but I feel like a lot of your work evokes that milk bath feeling.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really nice.
That's cool.
Okay. So that's where.
You want me to look at the other email?
Yeah, just to.
Okay, let's see.
It's just to kind of catch you up with what I tried to do the suggestions you told me and actually yeah, and then I left them while I was gone. So
oh yeah, I like a lot of these though. I really do like a lot of these. I love this one.
do you?
I do. So I still have one problem with it, and I don't know if you correct. I still feel like this line of this skirt is too perfect.
Still too okay. All right.
Don't you think? I still think you need to. I mean, I just still think that you're.
Yeah.
Especially in here because she's. I mean, I don't care that she's that skinny. Like that doesn't really bother me. But I just like you just need to break this line.
Break the. Okay.
So what you could do is actually, if don't want to scrape it, right? Because scraping is often like, it's hard to have the courage to scrape enough. What if you took this color? Do you have this color in caustic paint?
Yep.
Green?
I do.
Okay, so just you have to like take it with a little brush and you have to just kind of like, you have to just brush the green over this. So it's just not a hard line.
Because I think what I did was I extended the magenta of the skirt, but no, okay, so now I'll do the opposite way, that
Well, I think,
shallow green.
yeah, I think you just, and then maybe it's just like right around her elbow, like leave her waist sharp, right?
Mhm.
And how about just like right here
Okay.
where her elbow is? How about just make the skirt, just take green on the brush and then just
Just
like a couple,
soften it.
just a couple brush strokes, like right here, 1,
Okay.
2, right?
Okay.
I think that's gorgeous. I love this one. And her back, it's fine. I don't mind that green on there. I don't mind it. I like it.
Good.
I love
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Um,
This
yeah,
one I love. I just think this is so great. I just love it.
I put
Put the stars on
went
there.
over the top of the sky on the left to tone
Mhm.
that down, and then I just put in last night. I put in the stars. I thought, you know, the little dots of stars, that's one thing, but then I wanted regular stars, so I just threw them in there.
So I mean, I like them. I just feel like now you could go you could take a little bit of pan pastel or pick, just tone a couple of them down. So
Tone-
right now they're
okay.
all the same. They're all the same. They're
Okay.
all, and they're as bright as your women. Like they're,
Yeah.
so I just think that something has to give. Like something has to go
Okay.
right. Something has to go forward. Something has to go back. So they just need a little bit of, use blue, use the color of the background and put a little bit on top. Not with wax though, with something softer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't think the pan pastel's that dark, so maybe I have to do be a transparent blue, so some of it comes through. Okay.
I think the pan pastels will work, something that color.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think I have that.
that blue.
Yeah, I only have the real pastels.
Oh, okay.
I'll check.
Well,
Let
if you
me
have
check.
pigment stick, just put a little pigment stick on there.
Yeah, okay. I'll try that. So some can be as they are, and then some are.
Yeah, like every other one or something. Like this little row of 3 right here, they're two
Yeah.
lined up. Like 2 of them need to go back, 1 of them needs to come forward. These 3
Okay.
too, like they just need to be different colors.
Okay.
Everything else is great. I love it.
Good. Good.
I don't think I've ever saw this one.
Well, this one, yeah, you had we got it to a point where there were some butterflies.
Oh yeah.
Butterfly in, and then I painted the flowers, but I want those flowers to soften up and recede. They're too bright. I think they.
So just put wax medium on them.
Yeah, and
also I think you should put a little bit of color in her dress.
Okay, I actually put some rice paper that had gold threads.
I see it. It's beautiful. I see it. But if you just put a little bit of pan pastel, like a very peachy pink or a little bit of yellow in her dress, I think that might also chill out the flowers. I mean, basically right now the flowers are contrasting against bright white.
Yeah.
So if the dress,
I go right to the flowers, and I want them to be softer.
right. So put some soft colors in the dress and then see how the flowers look. If the flowers are still too bright, you can either put a coat of wax medium on them or scrape them back a little bit. So you just have to decide which look you're more comfortable with, you know, breaking them up by removing and subtracting or softening by adding. So they're not exactly equal, but they will both solve your problem. You just decide which technique works better for you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I have a couple more of that image. So, you know, the other things.
Yeah, it's a great photo. Yeah, it's great.
I just thought, oh my gosh, there's so much we could do with this. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah.
I want to tell you with the with the next one, the tree spirits that I've done over and over and over and over again. I just submitted the tree spirit that's the image that's teal. I think it's probably the best painting.
This one?
No, it's not in the set, but it is on a diagonal. There's teal and copper. And
oh yeah. Okay.
And
One of the earlier ones we worked on.
It is, and I just Anyway, so I should know in a couple of days if it's in or not. That would be my first
Good. Oh my God, that's great.
museum thing. I don't know. I know that's a big deal.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm so happy to hear that. That's wonderful. And I love your book. I still love your book. I look at it all the time when I'm in my studio. I love your
Oh,
book.
that's sweet.
I love your book.
Well, I'm actually thinking I want to do another one that, but it won't be self-portraits, but it's another one that's coming up. But that's a whole nother
Oh,
thing.
good.
That's the black and white part of me.
I know. I have that part of me too. And I'm going to do a book too. And it's going to be next year.
Cool. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so with the, even if I don't, if I'm not, even if that picture isn't accepted, I really, the whole experience is good. The whole application process and writing the description. To fit the theme.
Even titling the work, even titling the work.
Yeah.
Writing what materials you used in it, and then putting the titles on the back, and then scanning them. The whole and then also keeping them together by date or by series idea. I mean, all of these things are important.
Well, so that's my first little step. So I had to tell you.
Awesome. Let me know what happens. I
will. It's it'd be interesting.
That's great.
I want to go ahead. I think this is the last session that I paid for, so I want to go